Deadly Sing coming at you with the second series in the first day of LCK Spring 2016. Again, doing another champion select analysis, trying to cut these down, trying to be more concise, but I could ramble on about all these picks and their implications, so let's just jump right into it. First with the bans. Africa is going on the blue side. They get first ban. First ban, Lulu. Obviously, very strong pick, especially on this patch, even transitioning to 6.1, which they will be doing tomorrow, or the day of which I'm recording this as tomorrow. Very strong pick. Obviously, the linchpin of various protect comps, as well as just strong, especially with Frost Queen's Claim still being OP since they are playing on 5.24. Very strong pick. Warrants a ban. Two were coming out from KT Rollsters, Twisted Fate. Obviously, Twisted Fate, classic strong control mage in the mid lane, very global engaged. You can have many engaged comps as well as just kind of fitting seamlessly into any comp that needs that CC as well as that damage and the wave clear of TF. A very strong mid laner, warrants another ban. Three coming out from Africa again, we're going to be having Gangplank. Gangplank, very strong top lane, probably one of the strongest right now. Still, surviving any nerfs that has happened to him throughout the preseason, even coming into 6.1. Very strong top lane, warrants a first pick, and seeing how they don't necessarily want that or go for that, or if Ixu is probably not the best Gangplank player, but he probably is proficient, maybe not comfortable, not their first pick, gonna ban that away. Going back to KT, their next ban is going to be Zed. Now, Zed, another AD assassin, another mid lane ban, mind you. So, seeing that Fly's champion pool either is so vast that he doesn't need to pick these necessarily strong picks in the mid lane, or it is limited in the fact that he doesn't necessarily feel comfortable on them, or doesn't wish to play them, or maybe that's not how they want to, form their team comp. They ban out the assassin mid lane, which would give me a strong inkling that they have a very strong mid lane choice that they're going to choose based on those bans. So if I was Africa, I would really be conscious of what mid lane I would ban next if I'm going to ban a mid lane, or what mid lane I'm going to pick under the assumption that they have applied two of their bans towards that lane. Now, the last ban coming out from Africa is going to be Rise. Again, Rise, a flex pick for top and mid, very strong in the late game. We've seen Faker dominate on this. Haven't really seen too many other people show the results that Faker does, but regardless, very strong champion and could be their mid lane strat as of their two mid lane bans, obviously. So they get rid of them. Safe ban. Next ban coming out from KT is a Thresh ban. I'm not the choice I would choose. I mean, Thresh, out of all the supports you could ban, would probably be very low on my list. If I had to think of other supports that they could have banned, could have been, I would say Braum. I would go Tom Kench because it can be flex both in those positions, or Alistar. Those are, I think, much better kind of engagey slash disengagey supports that have that CC. I guess they were somehow fearful or did not want the lantern hooks or flays to somehow mess up part of their engage or provide that long distance disengage for Africa. Either way, it's not game breaking, it's not game losing. Not what I would choose, but it's fine. Now, moving into the drafting phase. The first draft we're coming out, Lissandra first pick by Africa. Kind of a given, seeing how Lissandra is very strong, very much a flex pick, but most likely going to be played top, which it end up where Lissandra is going. Obviously very strong, a lot of AP damage, the ability for that click on CC, as well as the also close range CC, and the ability to travel the distance of the map with the Q and to set up those plays, as well as just the pure damage of it. A very strong pick in the top lane, as we've seen on this patch and the next. So, moving on to the next picking phase for KT Rolster, they're going to lock in Fiora for Someday and Elise for Score. Now, this is a pretty decent response. Obviously, since you picked their top lane, might as well respond with a top lane pick unless you have other priority picks that you wish to secure to make your team comp. So Someday, very good on Fiora, still coming off the Worlds with a very good performance on the Juggernauts that have been provided. Seeing Fiora getting a couple nerfs here and there, as well as just the regular feel of the Juggernauts, but still top lane is a very easy position to carry from and brings a lot of damage and a lot of influence in these team fights. Fiora, a very strong pick, has the ability to parry some of that CC coming from Lissandra, even other aspects in lane. So laning shouldn't be too bad for someday. Coming out of picks and bans, a very strong choice. Same with the Elise, a lot of CC, some AoE damage, and just a general safe tier 1 meta jungler to choose this early in champ select. Now, the next picking phase is coming from Africa, where they select Kalista and Bard. Now, the Bard I find a bit surprising. I haven't really seen too much superior professional Bard play, but it's still a very strong support, a very CC focused support, and a very zone focused support. So it provides a lot of aspects. My problem with it is very, very squishy. And coming out, seeing how half their team, besides, I mean, Lissandra can get tanky with items such as Roa, which has been buffed up to this point on this patch, Sin offer a bit of tank, but just seems a bit too squish for me and not what I would choose. The Kalista, very safe, seeing how the ADC hasn't been picked. If I was them, I probably would have went with the MF, seeing how MF was open and this is still 5.24. So MF I just think would be a little bit better considering what patch they're on, but Kalista by no means is a bad choice. The Bard is going to be very good for zone control. We have to see how Snowflower executes that Bard play in the game though. Now, moving on to the next and fourth drafting phase, coming from KT, we're going to be picking up Shen and Lucian. So obviously, they just pick their bot lane. Might as well respond by picking your bot lane. No need to give away your mid lane and save that and reserve that for a counter pick for Fly, which is just standard practice on the red side. Now, this Shen obviously is probably going support at this point, and Africa can make that assumption because we have Fiora there, and Lucian, a very strong lane focused ADC, a lot of damage coming out from the piercing lights and a lot of wave clear, not only his piercing light and passive along with the culling. So we have a wave clear factor coming out from KT as well as just a strong lane bully coming with Lucian to be able to try to bully that Kalista around, push her in, make her miss that CS, and poke out that Bard, who we've already stated is not very good on the health side of things. Now, moving on to the fifth drafting phase, which is the final drafts from Africa, we're going to be picking up the Rek'Sai for Lyra in the jungle and LeBlanc for Mickey in mid lane. Now, these are, pretty good picks. The standard jungle pick, Rek'Sai, another tier 1 jungler, very strong, has the tank factor, has the CC factor, the ability to get around the map with the tunnels and gank from the fog of war and counter gank is still very strong with this Rek'Sai coming into this game. I don't see anything wrong with this pick. I would not have suggested the Kindred with their lineup. So Kindred was good that they did not draft that. I don't think they had enough tank on their team to be able to sustain a Kindred jungle at this point. So I think the Rek'Sai was a smart pick for what champions they have on the board already. Now going to the LeBlanc, very assassin based. At this point they're blind picking their mid lane, so they don't know who they're going up against. Now the LeBlanc with Thunderlords on this patch, very strong. A lot of damage coming out of LeBlanc, a lot of burst damage, and looking for to KT Rolster's team at this point. If I was Africa and I had to blind pick a mid, LeBlanc would be on that short list of champions to choose because look, you have Someday who's on Fiora, who besides Black Cleaver really isn't going to be acquiring too many tank items, and besides maybe an odd Hex Drinker that may occur, and not a lot of magic resist. So it's just the innate burst damage of LeBlanc. He should be able to take out Someday. He should be able to take out Lucian, and even to the point where Elise will get tanky, but maybe not necessarily on the resist side so tanky. Probably has a good fair chance of either completely chunking out or destroying score at this point, and along with the Shen, depending how tanky they get, that burst factor is still there. Also, LeBlanc's laning phase against a mystery champion for KT at this point is still going to be relatively strong. She doesn't really have too many super hard counters. People are rumoring Syndra's a big LeBlanc counter. I haven't seen it in practice where it's been effective, so I wouldn't know at that point. But very strong, very safe in lane, and at the end she can roam effectively and create open and create space on the map. Now going to the last draft coming from KT Rollsters is obviously going to be Fly's mid lane counter pick at this point, and now they pick up Lux. Now there was a lot of things they could have chose here. They could have had Victor, they hovered Kassadin, all strong, more meta picks for what one would normally assume would be a strong mid laner. And we saw the Victor v LeBlanc matchup happen in the game earlier and saw how Faker was able to wreck no deaths come on, LeBlanc get good. But when we look at that, that was more of a factor of A, Faker being Faker, and B, the type of team comp that SKT had assembled. So looking at their team comp currently at KT, I think Victor really wouldn't have, it would have fit, but wouldn't have been the perfect fit for that. And I think Lux handles everything that Victor would have done and would have been in a role in that team, but handles it better. Now, the reason Lux is picked up is because we're on 5.24. So Frost Queen's Claim is still active in its OP state, allowing Lux to have better CC control and better zone control and setting up ultis with those slows, as well as setting up picks and things for her team with that slow. So Lux has the shield to provide a bit of tankiness for them, which they are kind of lacking, seeing how Someday is not necessarily playing the tank top, but they still have a decent front line. And the damage from Lux is still very good. The zone control with her E, as well as the stunning factor of her Q, and going up against LeBlanc, we can now see why they banned Twisted Fate and Zed, because that would have completely destroyed a Lux, and those assassin type and CC type based champions, point and click, would have just completely wrecked her in the laning phase. But when we're going into LeBlanc, I think Lux actually matches up very favorably. Not only do you have the zone control and poke that you can get off with your E, but when LeBlanc disruptions in, when she W's in, it's not a blink. It's a simple moving over the area, jumping to that. It's only a blink teleportation when you go back to the original distortion spot. Sorry if I said disruption earlier. Distortion spot. So as Mickey's going to be Wing in, Fly has the ability to see that Q stun E and get the passive shots off with the auto attack, dealing a lot of damage, being able to sustain trades, as well as even setting up ultis and kills in lane. I think it's a very strong pick for the first game. Now, kind of going to team comps, we have a pretty good zone control slash burst team comp coming out from Africa. I say zone control only in the fact that you have some AoE knock-up stuns coming out from Rek'Sai, which is a given. You have the ulti coming out from Lissandra, as well as some area of effect damage, which provides a nice zone of damage. Obviously, you're going to have Hurricane Wrens coming out from Callisto, which also provides a nice zone damage that you can create instead of single target burst. You have the Bard, which has the ability with his Q to stun up multiple people, as well as the ulti, which is just a huge either disengage or engage tool that they can use to set up knockups, to set up Lissandra ult. And then you have the LeBlanc, who's just there to blow everybody up with their spell rotations. So you have the ability to get picks with Bard, Lissandra, and LeBlanc. All are able to get picks, as well as the Callista ult for more CC and more pick potential. So you kind of have a lot of AoE and a very zone team focus with the ability to make those picks to open up the map for them. Not a lot of split push potential though with the LeBlanc and Lissandra and even the Callista. So mostly going to be focusing on team fighting from Africa coming out of the draft for the first game. Now on KT's side, you have very strong split push potential with Someday. You have Lucian, who's going to be able to have a lot of wave clear, just like Africa, enough wave clear there to be able to push out these waves and not get sieged under. You have wave clear with Lux. You have a lot of, you have some engage potential with Shen and Q, but not too much. When you look at this KT Rolster team, they're not really looking to make too many pick plays, because at best the only CC you're going to have is a Q from Lux, a Shen taunt, a Cocoon, and that's about it. So they're really kind of looking for the split push game, and even kind of the I would even say not really team fight game either, because you have the Shen ulti coming up to kind of protect somebody out, but it's more of a poke slash kind of sustain damage type team. A lot of siege potential with Lux coming out, as well as Lucian, and Elise for a bit of AoE, but really just kind of that standardized team comp that is almost set up to outplay and outmaneuver Africa on a macro level with the setup that they have, especially with their also players like Someday, is very much going to be a beast on this Fiora coming out of this champion select, just predicting that. So they've set up really a team for the ability to outplay and outmaneuver Africa without necessarily having to engage them head on. Now, moving on to the second game, let's start with the bans. Twisted Fate, all the reasons why I said Twisted Fate. Boom, banned again from KT Rolster. KT Rolster's next ban, Zed, same reasons there. Boom, boom, boom. Easy assassin. Do not want to deal with them, obviously, either from the ability of Fly to play it or they don't want to give it up the Africa. Not really an integral part of the team comps that they've been showing so far. So getting rid of it. The Rise, obviously, I've already explained all those reasons. Same reasons apply here. Pretty much the same bans exactly. Easy. Moving on to Africa's bans, we have the Lulu. I've already explained a very integral part of a lot of team comps. Very strong Frost Queen's claim and just her ability to, ramp up in the early to mid game where these games are lasting only about at the max 30 to 35 minutes, and where that 15 to 20-minute range is going to be when Lulu is going to be the strongest. She can just become a beast as well as buffing up anyone in sight. The Lux ban is coming out. KT Rolster won the first game. The Lux is obviously a response, not wanting to repeat the same mistakes of game one and eliminate that off the table. Next is the Fiora ban, also played in game one. Want to take that tool away from Someday. The crucial flaw here is if they take away Fiora, they open up the Gangplank. You left Gangplank unopened. If I was going to do anything, I would have banned Gangplank instead of the Lux. I feel like you should be able to counter Lux at this point. There are options and avenues you can choose for assassin types to blow up, such as Fizz. Mickey could have brought out Fizz against the Lux if they would have left it open, and it would have been taken by KT Rolster. Would have been an easy counter pick as well as providing pick potential for them and just that damage of Fizz over time. Now, going into the draft phase, KT Rolster has first pick, and like I said, since Gangplank's left open, taken right away by Someday. Very good on Gangplank, very proficient top laner in general, so Gangplank doing as much damage as he does, as well as the AoE factors that he has. Very good first pick coming out of KT Rolster, and doesn't really give anything away about what the future picks may be. Now, second draft phase, going to Africa, they pick up the MF and the Trundle. Now, this is probably the strongest bot lane that you could choose on this patch, which is 5.244. So, Misfortune isn't nerfed. Ult does a lot of damage. We saw it in the SKT game. Her E still does immense damage. Thunderlords just, synergizes so well with the E and the damage that it provides for that burst, as well as the slow factor of it and the zone control. Comboed with Trundle. Trundle has the ability to slow as well with the pillar, set up areas in ults, set up Q bounces for her by bouncing people back into range as well as just setting up an area where if you E as Misfortune, put up a pillar, create this just zone of slowness for anyone that comes in there, almost guaranteeing you kills. Pretty much a very strong bot lane that transitions very well into the mid game and a team fighting stage, as well as a split push phase if they want it. Trundle's Q still works on towers, so even the Trundle can contribute to pushing down of towers. Just a very strong meta pick for the patch there, and I really like this first two picks coming from Africa. Now moving on to the next draft phase from KT, we have Elise being picked up again. Just a classic real choice coming out. Still a tier 1 jungler, very good for all the reasons. The CC, the AoE, pretty much all around. Offers that tankiness since we're seeing they're not going to be getting a tank out of the top lane. Safe choice for KT, doesn't give anything up. Lucian, very good, very strong at this point. Still very good in lane, very good early game. We have, the things with the Essence Reaver allowing him to be able to spam more Qs, spam more Es, spam more Ws, get that mana back, and those Qs do a lot of damage as well as give him the ability to push in those lanes with a lot of wave clear and really push this Misfortune under tower, try to starve her a farm and not allow her to set up and use her zone control since she'll be stuck farming under turret. A very good choice on the matchup with Misfortune, and also a very good practice to be able to choose your ADC after their bot lane has been exposed. That way it allows you to reserve more mystery with your next picks, as well as the ability to respond to the future picks without giving anything up. Now, the next drafting phase really confused me coming from Africa. They blind pick for Mickey this Ari. And don't get me wrong, I don't have any problems with Ari. I think there's stronger picks out there. I don't know why you would blind pick Ari though. Why blind pick Ari and Assassin right here, right now, without knowing anything about their team comp? Because who are you going to catch at this point? Are you going to catch Lucian? Probably not, because I would think Arrow has the mechanical ability to E and dodge those charms, as well as going to have a front line that doesn't allow that to happen. What are you gonna charm the Elise at this point in the champ select because you don't know the last two picks for KT Rolster? Not a lot of luck that's gonna do you. Are you gonna charm the Gangplank? And if you charm the Gangplank, it's going to already be in a situation where he's either gonna have barrels set up, or he's already gonna be farming alone in a lane, or he's gonna be with his team. So I don't really see a reason in the champ select to why you would first pick Ari, as well as how it fits into the team comp that they have so far selected. Misfortune and Trundle can mesh with anything, provide that zone and control. There's no reason you need to expose your mid lane pick this early. Then we have the Rek'Sai coming out for Lyra, which is again strong pick. Nothing to be really not beat a dead horse about. Rek'Sai still tier 1, provides some nice zone CC, ability to gank and counter gank with the tunnels. The vision from the passive and Q, all very good things that fit into a generic meta team comp, but doesn't really give you a reason to why you would pick the Ari right now in this phase, in the fourth phase. So moving on to the next phase, I think KT really has cemented what they want to do with this game at this point in the Champion Select when they cement their team. So you have Fly is going to be using Kassadin, which not only provides, a good late game backing. Kassadin slowly ramps up and becomes stronger and stronger. Also, the assassin factor of the ability to, Kassadin to jump in, assassinate squishy targets like Ari, like Misfortune, and then hop back out necessarily before they get, too destroyed. Also, Kassadin very good against Ari in the fact that his Q is going to be able to a lot of that poke damage, so the trades in lane just purely from a mid to mid focus is going to be superior, and it's just a superior matchup for Ari. There's a lot more roam potential in Kassadin once he hits 6, and just a lot more versatility with the pick and how it meshes, rather than this Ari that really hasn't provided a purpose for why it's been chosen. And seeing now there's no counter pick potential for Africa coming into the next phase. Now the Braum pick is probably my favorite pick out of the entire KSD Rolster lineup. It really provides a lot of safety and disengage for KT at this point. Because when we look at it, with Misfortune coming on and having her ulti, Braum's stand behind me wall is going to be able to block a lot of crucial elements. It's going to be able to block those bounce Qs in lane necessarily if they want to use it for that, because they have nothing else to block in the laning phase to dodge a lot of damage coming out from Misfortune trying to poke in lane. So that's going to eliminate a lot of that factor. It's going to eliminate and pretty much nullify Misfortune's ulti every time if used correctly, by able to block all of that damage. So that zone of damage and control that I've been talking about in Misfortune is nullified by that Braum E. Then it also can, block potential charms and Ari Qs and kind of already, eliminating and nullifying Ari's presence on the map if that's her whole point, is to be a charm bot and try to get these picks. But now you already have a versatile mobile comp coming from KT that has the ability to dodge these charms. But now for their immobile members, such as Someday in the top with that Gangplank, you now have the extra insurance of the Braum wall to block all of those skill shots. So their team comp is very much well versed to handle Africa, as well as just almost anybody. It's very generic in the sense that it's very meta. You have Gangplank left open, first priority pick. Elise is nothing special. Lucian very strong in lane, has that wave clear, but not necessarily, an amazing, having some really amazing quality that stands out to me. And Kassadin just being a good, scaling mid laner that has a lot of power in the late and mid game, and a lot of pick potential, assassination potential, as well as just, some AoE damage coming out with the E, but the ability to jump in and kill the squishies on Africa's side. And then the disengage with the Braum ult, so anytime that Ari is going to be ulting in, or you have a Rek'Sai tunneling in, or a Trundle trying to set up these zones of control, and the engage coming out with that, it's just going to be nullified by the Braum ult, allowing for KT to split up, regroup, and engage again, or just split up in general. As well as the fact from KT's comp also has a really good strong 1-3-1 comp as well, because you can have Gangplank splitting, Kassadin splitting, and then 3 going up the middle with really no repercussions. And you really can't have Ari split pushing or Misfortune really split pushing, because Misfortune really needs to group. Otherwise, she gets kind of wrecked when she's alone, and her team fight is all about zone control with her E and ulti, so she's not going to be, taking any turrets by herself. Neither is the Trundle because he's in a support role, and neither is Rek'Sai because he's just not going to have the damage. So after that rant, let's go into the last pick of the game, which is this Gnar coming out from Africa. Now, this kind of perplexed me as well. Like, I get it, Gnar is very good. Gnar is very probably a really good matchup against Gangplank because he is ranged. He has the ability not only to destroy the barrels as they come up, kind of nullifying some of that poke damage in lane, but also has that sustained damage with the 3-hit passive and the ability to poke out the melee of Gangplank, which might make him strong in lane. And when I look to the team fight, it synergizes well with the zone control of the Misfortune and Trundle, as I already said on the video about SKT. If you want to look at that, it has a lot of zone control and potential in that regard, as well as also synergizing with the CC. But so it's a fine pick for what I get. I guess what the fatal flaw for Africa's team comp at this point is that Ari pick. The Ari pick does not fit into the existing comp that Africa has uh, made here, because essentially what they have is almost an exact copy of the zone comp that SKT was running in their game against CJ Entus. So I would have much preferred to see a Victor or a Zir or even a Vel'Koz coming out of with Thunderlords. He has definitely become viable. Even like a Lux type champion, just like that, we can see the success that those types of champions are having in this meta on this patch, and what we're going to probably see transition into 6.1 just with the mastery changes. So I don't really see where this kind of quasi assassin of Ari really fits in. So if I had to suggest anything, Ari is the fatal flaw. Probably why Africa loses this game. They do lose this game. I'm not going to provide any more analysis on that. I'm already kind of being long-winded. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Future videos will be coming up for the other regions as those games are broadcast. I will be handling Champion Select analysis for the second day of LCK. Give me any feedback, comment, rate, subscribe. Every little bit helps. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and peace.